Today is all about giving you guys the tips to increase your putting percentages, as well as finding an easy training ability that a lot of people doesn't even know exists in PGA Tour 2K25. So I'm going to give you guys all that. It's a very exciting week. Thank you all for subscribing. Thank you all for checking out these videos, and I hope they are helping as the guide series continues. Very exciting week for the guide series as we roll into the official launch of the actual game on Friday. Today is all about putting. Tomorrow is going to be all about chipping and bunker shots. And then throughout the week, we're going to teach you guys all about how to create a little training facility for yourself. I'm going to teach you about elevation, very simple calculations. And then I'm going to teach you about wind, crosswind, downwind, into the wind. And then in the future videos, I'll talk about the shot types and how those shot types affect the wind shots as well. So there is a lot to look forward to. So make sure you are liked, make sure you are subscribed. I'm going to do my best to get you out. There's going to be a live stream Wednesday night for me, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, roughly around there. You shall see the video being posted of you can schedule it. I'll put that out soon. Tomorrow, I'm going to announce the winners of the giveaway. So just note, Wednesday at night, you can come ask me whatever questions you want, and we can pretty much dive into it there. So let's get into this video, as this has already been too long of an informational intro, but training is where you want to go. So if we're trying to improve your putting, and there is no exact science to putting, but this is the way and the tips that I have to do it. If you are brand new to the actual game, maybe you want to go check out the training just to understand the basics of putting. But when it comes to actually practicing it and getting better, one of the best places you can go actually is in the putting practice. And I'm going to show you guys this little tip right here. So if you have ever ventured into this putting practice area, you can see that this is a very basic putt, right? So there's no movement on this green whatsoever. These little beads or markers and how we read putts, you can see there's really nothing to this putt. It's just a pretty straight putt. So there's really not that many, and if you make the putt, you cycle through it, right? So there's a couple things you can do here to help increase the difficulty of these putts to practice. So if you hit circle on the PlayStation controller, or I think it's B on an Xbox controller, you're going to open up this little screen right here. And what this screen does is it allows you to move the ball wherever you want. You can use L2 and R2, or right trigger, left trigger, to zoom in and out. But you can see this is my guy, and I'm putting right here to this hole. If I want to practice putts from this side, because I see there's a hill over here, you can just go over here, you can hit X, and you can move around the green. Now I'm putting from this angle in over here, and we're making putts from that angle in over there. So that's what it's like, the number one tip. Now, there's 3 greens here for you to practice, right? So there's one green here, there's one green here, and then there's another green over here. Now this green I actually think is one of the more difficult greens to putt on, and that one and this one right here. So how do I get from here to over there? Well, you just hit R1 or RB if you have one of those controllers, and you can see that green circle has now disappeared, and it has now moved over to right here. So this green circle is now here, and if it's ever lost for any, you just keep cycling through. So if I hit R1 again, you can now see it's over at this flag over here. And you can just kind of keep on cycling through. Every once in a while, it cycles through and puts itself in the bunker, but just keep hitting R1 until it populates on one of those greens. All right, so let's go hit some putts. We'll test out some putts on this middle green right here. In order to increase your putts, you need to understand how the swing works. So let's talk about the Evo swing really quickly. The Evo swing is very similar to the actual golf swing itself and how the Evo swing works. So your 2 tickers on the top and the bottom. The bottom one is your swing path. So you can see I have a bigger white cone on the bottom than I do on the top. That's because my swing path attributes are much higher there than they are on the top. The putt contact attributes will apply to the top cone. The higher up that putt contact goes, the bigger that white section is going to be. Now, what do those 2 tickers mean? Those 2 tickers determine how straight your ball is hit, how likely it's to go at the target of what you're looking for and stay on that path as well. So you can see here, if I go outside this zone, you can see I pulled the putt, so it started out to the left and then it was closed. So if I go there to there, you can see I pushed the putt, so it's moving out to the right and we're no longer hitting into it. So if I want to hit the putt towards the target, I have to be very straight up and straight down, and we're actually giving ourselves a closer chance to making putts. So, and now when it comes to the speed of the putt, on whether or not the putt goes this far or whether or not it goes all the way to the flag, that is going to be the gray circle. Like you can see the gray circle, and that is your transition and your rhythm. So there's going to be two circles. There's obviously one's dark right now because I have it on perfect swing. One is a little bit bigger, and that is because this is all just like a training video. So if you go only halfway, it says 40% underswing, it's not going to get to the flag. But if you hit it all the way to that circle, you can see the ball will actually get to that flag. So that circle is going to be very important for you, in which you want to actually pay attention to for distance control. Now, when it comes to the actual marker itself, this marker is always preset to the distance that the game has calculated you need to hit the distance for it. So if I move this to 9 feet, then it's expecting the ball to go only to that 9-foot mark. So wherever your marker is the anticipated spot that the ball is expected to go to. All right, so you can see I had it a little bit behind the flag, the ball goes a little bit behind the flag. So now let's start making some putts here, and let's talk about how to make these putts. So you got the perfect effects now of how the swing affects it. Now let's talk about the actual green grid, how I read it, and probably my most important tip here is going to be all about finding the point of what I call the top point, the aim point. I know there's aim point is exactly what a lot of people are looking for, but it's kind of essentially aim point when it comes to golf. So how this grid works, you can see there's a couple of colors under my feet. If it's reddish yellow, that means it's a more drastic speed, and you can see that with the beads. I call them little beads, little white markers, whatever you want to call them. Whatever direction they're flowing, that's which way the ball is flowing. So for example, here we have beads around my feet flowing to the left, which means that if I hit this putt's going to go down to the left, right? And then if I hit the same putt, you can see here that there's second set of beads that are going down this line. They are moving away from me, so that means that this putt is going downhill. If it was reversed and the beads were going up into me, like they're flowing to me, that means I am putting uphill. And you can also see that with the marker next to the 4 foot, there's an arrow that is pointing down. That means we are putting downhill. So you can use that to gauge. So you can see the further we go, the more downhill it is. The closer we are, the more downhill it isn't. So if it was pointing up, if that arrow was pointing up, that would mean that you are going up. So if you don't have green grids on, you can use that little marker to determine that as well. I also have it in the HUD at the bottom right corner. It says 16 feet away. This flag is 16 feet and it is 1 foot down as well. So now let's talk about what I'm talking about of the aim point and the exact point of what we're looking for. So what you want to do when it comes to putting is you want to find the halfway point, right? So the halfway point is halfway of the boxes. So you have, let's see here, this is a half a box between this one. Then you have 1 full, 2 full, 3 full, and another half. So you pretty much got 4 boxes away because you have the half, which is 1. You got a half here and a half at the end, and then you have 3 in between. So we're looking at 2 boxes away. So cut that number in half, 4 divided by 2, 2 boxes away. So right here, this would be 1 box away from where the ball is. This would be 2 boxes away from where the ball is. So this is the halfway point to the hole, and this is going to be your aim point, right? So you want to find at what point where you can hit to this spot, right? So halfway to the hole is your aim point because that is where the ball is going to start transition and turning in an opposite direction. So that's what you want to look for. So if I can hit the ball to this spot, this is the halfway point. It's going to start changing directions at this point here. That's basic like physics of like fundamentals of golf, putting, and aim point in itself and in general. So for instance, if I was using this middle spot and I was reading it block by block, I would see this ball is getting pushed to the left, and then it's getting pushed to the left more, and then it's getting pushed to the left more. And then if I followed that line, I would know it's not going to start transitioning back this way because these ones are also moving left. So if it's flowing this way and flowing this way, then you can clearly see here, we're missing the whole way off to the left, right? But if I hit it with power up here, we can see we're starting it off this way, and it's going to start pulling because the beads are moving. And then I would hit my halfway point here, and then they would keep pulling it more, and they would keep pulling it more, and then they would keep pulling it more, and then more, until hopefully we are perfectly in the hole. So you have to read it square by square, and you have to use your target point. So 10 foot, like I've told you guys before, is like their anticipated spot in which you want to read it. So we don't hit just right at the flag, because if I hit just right at the flag, it's going to miss left. We have the aim point, which is halfway through right here. So we are going to aim here because this is the top point. Like, I'm just going to keep hammering home the top point, your aim point. And then we hit that one here. And then we were just off that aim point, right? So this is a fast moving putt. We moved it up. We just picked a little bit of a higher aim point here. We hit the same putt, and we got it right in the center of the hole now. All right. So there is no exact science to it, but you have to help yourself. You have to read it square by square, and you have to find, like, you're looking at this, like, I'm not aiming at the hole. There's no way I'm aiming at this hole. I'm pretending there's an imaginary hole right here. And if I hit it in this hole right here, the rest of the green will do what it needs to do to hit it to that spot, and I don't have to worry about it. All right. So that is tip. And the most important tip, read it square by square, figure out a aim point of the top point, the top of the point in which the ball will start transitioning to a different direction. And if it was the same thing like over here separately, right? So we'll go something a little bit more difficult. So in this situation, it's flowing to the right, right? So we have what? It looks like we have just about one full square here, 2 full squares, and then a half a square, right? So 2.5, it's about 1 1/4 squares. So this is 1, and then it would be like right here. This is like our aim point here. So we read it square by square. If I hit it here, it's going to start push, it's going to start push, it's going to start pushing. And then this looks like an imaginary hole. That would be pretty good, because at this point, the beads start slowing down, so it's going to move less to the right. So it's going to move quickly with these first beads, and then you can see it's slowly moving here. So we want to probably be like right here is our spot. So we take that little 8 foot, we aim at our pretend hole here, and then we just hope that we got our aim point correctly. Just a tad bit high on the aim point there. So we move it just there, and you just got to get a feel for it, right? Get a feel for it, and then you'll figure it out. But that's what this is all about. You can turn on auto mulligan, which means you're just going to keep on hitting the same putt over and over again, even if you make it. And you're just going to keep on hitting these putts, and then you just keep positioning yourself in different spots so you can figure out how to read these. Now, tip number 2, what I like to do, especially this is a perfect example, especially around short putts, I like to add. I click it about 2 to 4, depending on if I'm going up a hill, so like a red hill, or whether I'm just going up like a small hill. I like to always add distance. So the 8 feet is what they're projecting it should be. Now, if I add 2, what does that mean? It means that I no longer have, so like this is where we were aiming before, right? So we were aiming was like right here, and then I hit this one, and it goes in the hole. If I'm adding 2, I don't have to play it as extreme. I don't have to play the brakes as extreme. I can actually play the brakes a lot less extreme. So you can see I clicked it over a couple spots there, and I'm hitting the hole at a much more consistent rate. Essentially, you have to play less brake, and that's what's really important. Playing less brake allows you a lot greater success and allows you to make a lot more putts. If it's anything inside 20 feet, I usually click it twice. If it's anything that I'm going up like a red hill, so it's like really uphill, I'll give you an example after this. I usually click it somewhere between 3 to 5 times. And even if I do miss this, like say I miss this, because it is risk reward, right? You may miss it, but like you're going to miss it and you're going to have that coming back for a putt. So like it's not really like that drastic of an issue. It's like still going to be like a tap in. So that is going to be like tip number 2 is going to be take the breaks out of the putt by increasing the distance. So always move your marker back a little bit, take the break out of it. You can play less break visually, and then you can hit your putts in a lot more consistently on those, especially on those close ones like the 5-footers, the 6-footers that have a lot of break to it, just like this. If you increase it, you can play a lot less break. Last tip here, make sure you are pushing your stick straight forward, right? So visualize like if you're in the game, you want to extend your putter towards the hole, because there's a lot of stuff when it comes to putting, right? So like for instance, my golfer is turned off to the left here, right? So my mental spot, if you've ever seen my top tip videos, is like, you know, the hole is over to the right in this visual spot, right? So like say we're aiming here, in my eyes, I know the hole is to the right. Don't push your right stick towards the hole because you see it's going to open it. You have to imagine that you are hitting a hole over here where the marker is. So point yourself and hit your putts towards the marker, not the flag itself. Make sure you are pushing your joystick towards the marker and not the flag. That is going to be very important at you hitting putts and not actually messing that up. All right. So you definitely going to want to make sure you are doing that and make sure you are pushing yourself towards the marker, so that way you are not leaving your joystick and your swing meter open at that situation. All right, so those are the 3 tips. So tip number 1, let's just rehash. Find the aim point, the top point of the slope of the break of the putt, so that way it can turn down to it. Tip number 2, add distance to take break out of the putt. And then tip number 3 is push your joystick towards the marker. Do not push your joystick towards the flag, because the flag is not where you're aiming. You are aiming towards the marker. So pretend the marker is your flag in itself. So like, let's use this extreme example here. So we're going super hard mode here, right? You can see that it says up 18 feet next to the 78 feet. So that means that it's going uphill. Obviously, if we bring it all the way back here, you can see with this slope, it's going uphill, and then it's going uphill some more. And then if I zoom in here, it's going downhill at this point. All right. You can see it's going slightly downhill here. So how do I read this? And if you don't like this camera view, you just push in the left stick. You can get to a lower one where you can use a visual cue to see like the ball is below my feet here. So that can help you out as well if it's something that you do like. So how do we read this, right? Let's just go square by square. So we need to find the halfway point. So the halfway point between that flag and where I'm at looks roughly like right out here. So I need to imagine that there's a hole right out here that I'm doing. I'm not counting boxes, but if I did count the boxes, I could do it. So let's just see. There's about 3/4 of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's about 13.5 boxes. So half of 13 is 6.5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.5. So I said right here, which, you know, I've been playing this game quite a bit, so I can do it quickly, but you can just quickly eye a halfway point there. So I'm imagining a hole somewhere right here. This is my peak point, and then we're going to read it box by box. So if I want to get the ball to that peak point, we want to, so we're going to know it's going to move to the right quickly. So right now, if I'm transitioning it, it's moving this way, moving this way, and then it's going to straighten out here, and then it's going to start moving this way. So if I want to get it to that top spot, I need to get it moving this way. So that way I can get it up to this spot here. All right. Because if I aimed out here, it would move here and then it would straighten out. And then this would take it down to the left here. But we're trying to get it up over here. All right. So we're going to aim here. We're going to let the hill take the ball this direction over here, up here, and then it will come back down this way. Now, this isn't really like a makeable putt. You have to temper expectations. So we're just trying to get it somewhere close. Now, remember what I said when it comes to like adding distance. Usually I tick it about 2 to 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I added it from 78 to 82. This is a little bit more of a red slope, so I'd add a little bit more. It's breaking more left than it is right. So we're going to aim it like right here. So what it's going to do, it's going to move to the right at the beginning, and then the hill is going to take it back to the left. Find a little aim spot here. There he goes up there, up over the hill, down this hill, and we got a pretty decent little 2-putt here. All right, you could have added a little bit extra because this is such a red slope, but we were right on target for the actual reading of the actual green there. And that's pretty good from 78 feet. So that way you're always 2-putting. All right. So that gives you a really good breakdown, hopefully, of how to help read these putts in difficult situations. Let me know down in the comment sections if anything was too confusing. We can do another future video on putting when it comes to like Legend Edition, no green grids, true sim, things like that in the future. But this is for any basic beginners who really need some help on the putting greens. Just remember the 3 things. Find your aim point, add extra distance to take break out of it, push towards the marker, not the pin. You're going to do great. Have a great day.